60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
The 30th day of January 2018, Justice Taiwo of the Akiri State Federal High Court declared that the EFCC, Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, cannot probe any state's finances without a report of indictment from the State House of Assembly. In a suit filed by the Akiri State government against the EFCC, the Inspector General of Police, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, the Clerk, and 13 others, Justice Taiwo gave that landmark judgment. Now, recall that the EFCC had invited state government officials seeking details of financial transactions of the state and letters to banks seeking financial books of the state in their custody. Program. I'm Angela Ajitumobi. Legal practitioner Chris Akiri joins me on the program today on our special series, What Does the Law Say? And together, we're looking at the state of our federation. Thank you very much, Mr. Akiri, for coming on the program.
It is my pleasure all the time.
So I recall you on this program some time ago saying the EFCC had absolutely no right to freeze the accounts of any state government. We were talking about the governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayose.
Yes.
You said categorically at that time that it was beyond the scope of their duties or their right. They had no right to do that. And it seems now that the Federal High Court in Ekiti has agreed with you that first, EFCC cannot probe the state's finances. They need the State House of Assembly to indict the government first before the EFCC can step in. What do you make of this?
Well, I think I organized a dance when Justice Taiwo delivered that epic judgment. It's a beautiful decision. So beautiful, you see, because he stated the law the way it is, which incidentally is the title of my book.
Yes.
Now, when you interpret the law, you interpret it do lege lata, not do lege ferenda. You interpret it the way it is, not the way it ought to be. That's the Augustinian principle, because it's so clear that the EFCC was going beyond its limit, playing to the gallery, that is. We could do this, assuming powers that are not conferred upon them by the Constitution.
But you know that Nigerians react happily to things like that.
Yeah, because you see, they see Governor Ayo Fayose as criticizing the government. He's about the only governor, apart from one or two other ones, who can summon up courage to say what the present government is doing, in the wrong way. So those people in support of the present administration are not happy with Fayose's strictures in Ekiti. But you see, he talks from the point of view of the law. Even if he's not a lawyer, he says it exactly as it is. So for that reason, those people who know the law and who support what he says, Say it from the Constitution. Say it from the statute books. And that was what I said the other time. And that was precisely what the judge said about him. Namely that there is what we call a Section 308 of the Constitution. So you cannot indict the governor of any state. I mean, that one includes the president, the vice president, the governor, and the deputy governor. You cannot indict any one of them while in office. And in any case, there is also a proviso that even if he's in office, whatever he may have perpetrated while in office is not questionable. The thing is there. But that's a moot point. Now, if you cannot indict governor, you cannot arraign him before any court of law, and you go ahead to punish him for an offense which he has allegedly committed, because when you freeze his account, you are punishing him. That's a penal sanction against him. So how do you punish somebody? And in view of Section 36, subsection 1 of the Constitution, there must be fair hearing. First of all, you cannot arraign this person before any court of law while being governor, and if it's a criminal offense, you can't try him. Now you go ahead to convict him. You know, conviction means freezing is a punishment. You have punished him when you have freezing the account. That's a penal sanction. So that's not allowed. And those are the things that the Honorable Justice put into consideration to deliver the wonderful judgment. I said it earlier on that even if the matter went to the Supreme Court, it's going to be the same thing.
The second leg of that decision by Justice Taiwo was that only the State House of Assembly has oversight and investigative roles over state finances, appropriation, etc. So after receiving a formal report from the auditor or the accountant general by virtue of section 128 and 129 of the Constitution, in other words, unless that happens, the indictment comes from the State House of Assembly.
Yes.
The EFCC can't step in to do anything in the state.
No, because you see, there must be a report to the EFCC for that commission to be able to act. You don't just swoop on people's homes or people's offices and begin to say, without any report. That is the law establishing the EFCC.
Yes.
That's what it says.
Yes.
Now, in this case, we are talking of an agency of the federal government and a federating unit of this country, which a state is.
Yes.
Now, the EFCC, federal agency, cannot just swoop on any state and then say, we want to check your finances.
Look at your books.
No, you don't do that. Who has given you the report? Unless and until the State House of Assembly gives you that report, so please come to our state and do that. You cannot do it because this is a federation. We are not a unitary state.
So even if someone within the state sends a petition, for instance, to the EFCC alleging many misdeeds in the state, the EFCC can't react to that petition.
No, because you see, that would be reducing the status of states, federating units, to the level of just mere provinces. You know, so anybody can call the federal government to come into our state and do something. Come and probe the governor. Come and probe the House of Assembly. Come and probe this one. You don't do that. This is a federation, and every state is a federating unit. There is a reason why we have state houses of assembly. It is because we want the people to be represented. So state assembly people are the representatives of the people in the state. It is those people that can make any report that can be relied on, not an individual just saying, come to our state and do this. You know, somebody in a Lagos state, for example, can petition the EFCC against Angela Jetumobi. Can petition the EFCC, you know, to come and probe Chris Akiri. But you can't say, come and probe Lagos State. No, because
you need
it's a semi-autonomous unit within the federal setup.
The Constitution talks about resolution published in the journal.
Yes. That's by the law. By the State House of Assembly.
All right. And following that, the Ekiti State has proposed or has actually formed its own Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EEFCC, they call it.
Yes.
Is there a possible conflict? Because now you've talked about federating unit. So I'm assuming that the Ekiti State government does have a right, you know, to have its own Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Is that a conflict with the federal government's EFCC?
No, but it is just in the process of governing the state. So, the EFCC is the process of governing the country, the federal government.
Yes.
And then the Ekiti state will say, okay, we have levels of malfeasance, levels of non-feasance in our state.
Yes.
And then therefore we have to have an agency to look into all these things so that if any citizen of our state is accused of anything, then you don't have to go to the EFCC Abuja before that allegation is looked into. You will have to have a body that can look into that body here in our state without any resort to EFCC. Well, that's fair. That's very fair.
It's within the law.
Within the law. That's the process of governing their own state. Yes.
All right. So we'll move on now to this INEC versus the Senate. You know that the Senate has proposed to rearrange the sequence of elections.
Yes.
We're in pre-election year now. INEC, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission, has said that it is standing by its decision to hold the 2019 presidential and National Assembly elections on the same day, which is 16th of February 2019.
Yes.
And the governorship and state houses of assembly elections will follow on March the 2nd. What does the law say? Who has the powers to fix the election sequence? Because there are two things here.
Yes.
INEC is saying we're fixing the dates and the sequence. The Senate is saying we're fixing the sequence of elections. Whose right is it to do?
You see, we have to rely on the Constitution all the time. If you look at Section 132 of the Constitution.
Section 132. 1.
Yes.
An election to the office of president shall be held on a date.
Correct.
To be appointed by the Independent National Electoral Commission in accordance with the Electoral Act.
Correct. So there are two things there. You have read on a date appointed by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Yes.
In accordance with the Constitution. Is that correct?
With the Electoral Act.
Electoral Act.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Now, two things there. You can see they have mentioned date.
Yes.
No sequence. Is there any sequence there?
No, there's
correct? Now, you don't smuggle into the Constitution what you think should have been there. They have mentioned date without sequence. Now, sequence is something that must be established by the law. And INEC has no power to make any law. They can make rules, like dates.
Yes.
When the Constitution is already there, when the law is already there, they can make their rules within the framework
of that law.
Of that law. Sequence belongs to the realm of law, not rule. Now, that's date. No sequence as far as the Constitution is concerned. Yes. Number 2, in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act.
Yes.
Right now, Section 132 that you have read is in pari materia with Section 178. If you read Section 178 now,
of the Constitution too.
Yes.
That's for governors.
For governors, correct.
An election to the office of governor of a state shall be held on a date.
On a date.
To be appointed.
If you finish the whole thing, you will say, in accordance
with the Electoral Act.
Correct, with the Electoral Act. Now, the Electoral Act was manufactured, so to say.
Yes.
Enacted by whom? Is it by INEC?
No, by the National Assembly.
By the National Assembly. So, even in Section 25.
Yes.
Of the Electoral Act, which you are opening now, talks of
days of election.
Days of election.
Yes.
Now, the National Assembly says, okay, these are days of election, which only INEC has power to pronounce.
Yes.
But we are now amending what we enacted to start with. That is the Electoral Act.
Yes.
We are amending that section. This is Section 25 that
Let me read Section 25(1) for the sake of the viewers.
Yes.
Elections into the offices of the President, Vice President, Governor and Deputy Governor of a state, and to the membership of the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the House of Assembly of each state of the Federation shall be held in the following order.
Yes.
A. Senate and House of Reps.
Yes.
B, presidential election.
Yes.
And C, State House of Assembly
Yes.
and governorship elections.
Correct. Now, you see, this is what they are amending. This is their law. This
That
is
the
their-
Senate, the National Assembly is now amending.
Yes, it's now amended. And you can see the constitution which you read.
Yes.
The constitution as amended in 2010 says in accordance with the the Electoral Act.
Yes.
You understand? Just like this one is in accordance with the Electoral Act. That's the amendment. So if that's the amendment in accordance with the Electoral Act,
Yes.
and the Electoral Act was enacted by the National Assembly, which alone can amend it.
Yes.
So what are we talking about? They are now amending what they enacted. You cannot now say, please don't amend it. Section 25 is already there.
Yeah.
Don't amend that section.
They have the right to amend.
They have the right to amend the whole thing, or in fact, review this Electoral Act.
Does it
not just
matter?
amend.
Does it matter the motive, behind this amendment?
Yeah, there's the motive is that they considered, and I bought into that.
Yes.
Any law tries to cure a mischief.
Yes.
Correct. The mischief that this amendment is seeking to cure is that in the past, when any presidential election precedes all the other elections,
Yes.
there used to be a bandwagon effect.
Aha. So
Yeah.
if the presidential election holds first,
Yes.
people tend to vote for the
To vote
winner
for-
of that.
Yeah, because you see, in Nigeria, everybody wants to go to the center. Now that the center has won, and you now want to say, okay, for us to go to the center, let us vote
And to benefit better.
And to benefit better, let us vote for the party that has won at the center. You see, because even if the founding fathers of this country, they first of all said Nigeria must be a federation.
Yes.
Period. It should never be a unitary state, and it should never be a confederation, but it should be a federation.
Yes.
And this federation must be centrifugal, not centripetal. You understand?
Yes.
It should be centrifugal, not centripetal. Now these people have made the constitution will now have it, because this is a military constitution, Decree 24
Yes.
of 1999. Now it has made it very centripetal, so that the Nigeria's president is about the most powerful president in the whole world.
Yes.
That's not what the founding fathers of this country intended.
Yes.
And so now that the center is so powerful and attractive, whoever wins the presidential election to start with, everybody wants to go there and say, well, if the center has won it and we want to go to the
We
center,
better join them.
we better join them.
Yes.
And that's not democratic. That's not democratic enough. So the National Assembly people said, no, that's not fine. And as far as I'm concerned, since the National Assembly is dominated by the ruling party, they saw what happened in the 2015 election,
Yes.
when the president won, and therefore it had this bandwagon effect, and they now have about 22, 23, or even 24 states at the center. That's not good enough. And I praise them so much, because that's altruistic. That's not just love of, you love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
But that's loving one's neighbor as more than oneself. They just said, no, even if this is our party, that's not good enough.
Yes.
We must make the law to favor the entire country, regardless of whoever is in power. And this law we are making now is not for the 2019 election alone. It is it's an all-time amendment.
For all future elections.
Correct. Thank you very much for allowing me to say that, because you see, I've been trying to say it, but I don't know how to say it to the public. Yes.
Join us again after the break.
Nice question.
Angela, that's a great question.
It's a good question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
That is a serious question.
Angela, that is a very great question.
Great question, Angela.
Angela, that's a very difficult question.
That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Angela, that's a tough one for me.
That's a good question. Good question.
I love to ask questions. I think it's what I do best. You see, I think that the fastest way to learn anything is to ask questions. The right questions. Questions that help you get to the heart of the matter.
60 Minutes with Angela. Getting answers to every question we always wanted to ask.
Welcome back. Chris Akiri is still with me on the program today, and we're heading to Lagos State. The Yoruba Language Preservation and Promotion Law 2018 makes it mandatory for all primary and secondary schools, private and public, to include Yoruba language as a core language. Schools who don't abide by this new law will close down and pay a fine of 500,000 naira. So I'm from Edo State,
Yes.
and I've done my secondary school in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
But I hope to study law in Lagos State University in LASU. What this law means is that unless I have a credit in Yoruba language, I will not be able to gain admission to LASU. Isn't that discriminatory?
Very discriminatory. I like to use your language, and it couldn't have been better applied. Very discriminatory, particularly in a state such as Lagos.
Yes.
Now, Lagos State is a mini Nigeria because almost every tribe in this country is represented in this state. And Lagos State is cosmopolitan, including everybody. Even if you are not a Nigerian,
Yes.
and you are in Lagos State, you are a Lagosian. I mean, it was in view of this cosmopolitanism of Lagos State,
Yes.
and again the problem of this discrimination you were talking about, that made the draftsmen of the Constitution to put in Section 55.
Section 55 of the
Yes.
Constitution says, the business of the National Assembly
Yes.
shall be conducted in English and in Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba when adequate arrangements have been made.
Therefore, is that correct?
Yes.
Good.
Therefore.
Now, when adequate arrangement, but that adequate arrangement has not been made. You see, there are still people who cannot speak the other person's language,
Yes.
living in this state. When did you introduce Yoruba as a compulsory subject for everybody? When did you do that?
Including private schools.
Including private schools. When did you do that? So adequate arrangement has not been made, to make any language compulsory. The very fact that this Lagos State is part of the Southwest, which is dominated by the Yoruba people,
Yes.
does not mean that they can just introduce any language. Their language, you impose it, foist that one on people. It's not correct.
I've heard some people say Lagos is a Yoruba state. Is that right?
Well, if they say it's a Yoruba state, that would not be too wrong. But they should also understand that Lagos is cosmopolitan.
Yes.
It used to be the federal capital territory of Nigeria.
Yes.
Until 1991, when the capital shifted to Abuja.
Yes.
Housing all tribes from this nation. To the extent that Lagos State is classified as a Southwest state, and you have 6 of them.
Yes.
Oyo, Ogun, etc., plus Lagos. Now, they might be right to say it's a Yoruba state when they say it's a Southwest state.
Yes.
And Southwest is dominated by the Yorubas. Just like you say, Anambra State is an Igbo state,
Yes.
which is in the southeast. The only place that you cannot classify as a state belonging to a particular tribe, I mean, Delta State and some other states in the
And I
north,
was coming to
which
that.
is a microcosm of Nigeria.
Yes. Imagine if a state like Delta, for instance,
Yes.
were to pass this kind of law.
Yes.
Delta has many languages. There's Ishekiri, there's Isoko, there's
Yes.
Orobo.
Yes.
The Undokwas speak their own dialect.
Yes.
We have all these twists
Yes.
on language in Delta State.
Yes.
What would it look like?
No, in Delta State, it's heterogeneous, very heterogeneous, but the Southwest is almost homogeneous. It's
Almost entirely Yoruba
almost
speaking.
entirely Yoruba, homogeneous.
Yes.
Apart from the Eguns.
Yes.
And maybe 1 or 2 other ones.
Yes.
They are almost homogeneous. In contradistinction to states like Adamawa, Delta State, even Benue State,
Yes.
with a multiplicity of tribes
Yes.
and dialects.
But the state government says this is to preserve and promote the Yoruba language. The necessity for tertiary institutions in the state that students who are admitted must have a credit in Yoruba. Now, for O levels,
Yes.
Every student does about 8 or 9 subjects.
Yes.
Sometimes you split it.
Yes.
4 art subjects, 4 science subjects. so that you can fall anywhere.
Yes.
When you are looking for admission, if you
Yes.
can't get into sciences, you can try commercial subjects and so on.
Yes.
Adding Yoruba language to that, and for which you must earn a credit,
Yes.
whether or not you are originally Yoruba speaking.
Yes.
What do you think is the aim of that? They say promoting and preserving.
I think it's ridiculous, like I said earlier on. It's ridiculous. You don't do that. Even in other states, if any other state does that, and then say because in Delta State, for example,
yes.
we are Urobo are in the majority.
Yes.
It will be wrong for any state governor or any state government to say Urobo language must be understood, and to the extent that you can write an examination and pass it.
Yes.
Let alone Lagos State, which is so cosmopolitan. You can restrict that one to the Yoruba people in your state. And then say, if you want to preserve, the sanctity of your language, you want to spread it, you want to prevent it from dying,
yes.
You can say, no Yoruba person.
With a Yoruba surname.
Yes, with a Yoruba surname. Yes, with a Yoruba surname in particular.
Yes.
With a Yoruba surname. Should be admitted into any tertiary institution without having a credit in Yoruba language. So you are preserving their own language, your own language.
Yes.
But not to preserve. You don't preserve your own language at the expense of other people,
yes.
Unless you want to say every other ethnic group
should leave Lagos.
Should leave Lagos State. Or they should not go to school. Only your children can go to school. It's a law that they have to think about very carefully.
What recourse is there for private schools who have now been included in this law? There's a fine of 500,000 naira in addition to having the school closed down if they don't adhere to this new law.
Yes, you see, we should be governed by the rule of law in this country. And we don't want to take the laws into our hands.
Yes.
Neither do we want to preach up jungle justice. So what I think people should do is to go to court and challenge this law. It's obnoxious, it's discriminatory, and it should not stand at all.
That can be done?
It can be done. They can go to court and challenge the law immediately.
Many people think once a law is passed, it is a law. No one can change it.
No. This is the way any good law is made. When it is bad, you know. When it is good, you know.
Yeah.
Before a law is made, there are two circles. There are two circles like this, and intersecting at a point. The first circle is the circle of law, which is usually bigger.
Yes.
And the second circle is the circle of morality. That's a small intersection. That place where
the two circles meet.
That is where you have a mixture of law, a mixture of morality. Where they don't intersect at all, that means is law, the Augustinian law. Once it called, and a law is a law, any element of morality, because there's no morality in this type of law that Lagos State has made. It's a law that is very discriminatory, and it was not properly thought about before they made it. Yes, we are here and everybody is happy and so on, but at least make this place conducive for other people. You don't want to say only your children should go to school, because in the final analysis, if this law should stand, it means only Yoruba children will be going to school. Because I won't have my children. I understand Yoruba as much as any Yoruba person. And I write Yoruba almost as much as Dio Fagunwa. You understand?
With the accent.
With the accent, oh my God. With the accent. I can write a tome on Yoruba. Anything I can say, I write it to Yoruba, complete with the accent. But I was not forced to do that. I will not force my children to study Yoruba at all. And if you don't want my children to go to your school, then you are telling us to go away from your state. Other people of like minds may be like that too.
Yes. All right, I want to take you now to the matter of the Court of Appeal and the EFCC. The Lagos State Court of Appeal saying that the EFCC lacks powers to prosecute and investigate serving judicial officers, except where they have been dismissed by the National Judicial Commission, NJC. So, what are the powers of the NJC regarding disciplining judicial officers? One of the worries that I see in this decision is that now everyone who belongs to any organization, the NBA, the NMA, all these organizations have in-house ways that they deal with their officers who have gone against the tenets or the practice of that organization.
Yes.
So, as a lawyer, you can now say that, oh, EFCC, you can't prosecute or investigate me until the NBA
Yes.
indicts me.
Yes.
Is there a danger that that will now be a loophole that many people will explore
Yes.
in trying to avoid prosecution and investigation by the EFCC?
You see, this is the Constitution, and then now if you open the section dealing with the NJC, it's saying that.
Okay, so if we go to the third schedule, part
Yeah.
1, Federal Executive Bodies,
Yes.
item 21,
Yes.
the National Judicial Council shall have power
Yes.
to A, recommend to the President from among the list of persons submitted to it by the Federal Judicial Service Commission,
Yes.
persons for appointment to the offices of the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Yes, you can now go to B.
Then B,
Yes.
recommend to the President the removal from office of the judicial officers specified in subparagraph A of this paragraph, and C, recommend to the governors from among the list of persons submitted to it by the State Judicial Service Commission, persons for appointments to the offices of the Chief Judge, judges of the High Courts, Grand Caddies, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And D, recommend to the governors the removal from office of the judicial officers specified in subparagraph C.
Yeah, that flowing from paragraph
C.
from C.
Yes.
So when you look at it from that angle of vision,
Yes.
you will tend to agree that disciplining any judicial officer, and I like to see a judicial office as a sacrosanct institution, which must not be violated just like that.
Yes.
Yes, Section 308 of the Constitution does not extend to judicial officers.
Yes.
But any judicial office is sacrosanct. And that's why they made the disciplining of any judicial officer, contingent upon the NJC
Stepping in.
looking at the matter. When they are able to establish a prima facie case against the judicial officer, then they now recommend to the president or the governor, as the case may be.
What if the NJC fails to do that? Because we've also seen cases where judicial officers are
Yes.
alleged to have done things,
Yes.
corruption and all that,
Yes.
and then the NJC just gives them a pat on the hand.
No, well, they won't do that. I trust they will do the needful. If any judicial officer goes from the sublime to the ridiculous,
Yes.
now the NJC is there to look at the matter. They don't suffer indolence, corruption easily. No, they don't. Once you fail to comport yourself after the fashion of a judicial officer,
Yes.
the NJC comes in very well to look into the matter and either suspend you.
So they are effective and efficient.
Very, very effective and efficient, I dare say. That's not because I'm a lawyer.
Yes.
If they are not, I will make bold to say so. But they are very effective and efficient. And when they have looked into the matter and they establish any case against you,
Yes.
and they think, should be given the maximum penalty.
Yes.
In other words, you should be eased off from the system. Now they recommend to the president,
Or to the governor, as the case may be.
to the governor, as the case may be,
Yes.
for dismissal, removal from the judiciary. Well, that has been happening in several cases that you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so but I think that if the person has committed a criminal offense, he has killed a person, for example. Now, it might be too much to wait for the NGC, because the law enforcement agencies will come in at that point and then say, yes, this person has committed a criminal offense and must be arraigned before the normal court of laws without the instrumentality of the NGC.
Yes.
That is what I think. Or any financial crime that may be any other thing apart from such crimes as murder,
Yes.
and so on, must be left with the NJC to look at.
Yes.
Particularly if it's a crime relating to the job of the judicial officer. That's my. If it's any crime or offense relating to the judicial office
Yes.
of that person.
Yes.
Yes, they should be left, the NJC should be left alone with that one. But if it's a crime, he has killed somebody, he has stolen money.
Yes.
Yes, if he has stolen money, he has got bribes, and it can be proved against him. Yes, the law should take its course.
Its natural course.
Yes.
All right. Join us again after the break.
Nice question.
Angela, that's a great question.
It's a good question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
That is a serious question.
Angela, that is a very great question.
Great question, Angela.
You know, Angela, that's a very difficult question.
That's a great question, Angela.
That's a great question.
Angela, that's a tough one for me.
That's a good question. Good question.
I love to ask questions. I think it's what I do best. You see, I think that the fastest way to learn anything is to ask questions. The right questions. Questions that help you get to the heart of the matter.
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question we always wanted to ask.
Welcome back. My concluding moments now with Chris Akiri. Well, Sahara Reporters says that the NJC had acknowledged in writing to the EFCC that indeed charges had been filed against the judges in question. Does that change the narrative?
Charges have been
Filed.
Yes.
That the NJC acknowledged
yes,
to the EFCC
yes,
in writing
yes.
that yes, charges have been filed against these judges.
Yes.
Does that change the narrative of anything? If the NJC says, okay, we know that there are charges filed, but
If there have been charges,
yes,
and there are charges and charges.
yes,
Charges on what? If there are charges relating to embezzlement, relating to accepting bribes,
yes,
relating to murder, and so on, they are filed against any judicial officer. That's perfect, as far as I'm concerned. Then the law should take its course.
natural
Now,
course.
but if there are charges relating to the job, the office, office of the judge,
Yes,
where when he delivered this case, there is discrimination. There is discrimination, and this discrimination is apparent. Or he ought to have delivered this judgment within 90 days, and he failed to do so. Or he ought to have, there are technical details
Yes.
about his job which he omitted to carry out.
yes,
All those things must be left for the NJC
alone.
severely alone. Don't pry into such areas. When such matters are related to the office of the officer, then the NJC must look into it first before it makes its recommendation to the president or to the governor. But when they are related to other things,
Yes.
crimes which you and I can commit,
Yes,
yes, the normal agencies can
step in there.
Can step in.
I can't let you go without talking about this hijab matter and the law school, the last call to bar ceremony in the Nigerian law school.
Yes.
On December 13,
Yes.
2017, a female law graduate was not called to the bar because she wore hijab to the ceremony and was asked to remove it to be able to be clad properly.
Yes.
At the call to bar, that's the first time you wear the wig.
Yes.
And she refused, citing that it was against her fundamental
faith.
rights.
Yes.
Right to practice her religion, and she thought it was something that would be against her religion if she removed the hijab. What does the law say?
Well, when you look at the Constitution in Section 38, for example,
Yes.
you look at Section 38.
Section 38 says, every person shall be entitled to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, including freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in community with others and the public or in private, to manifest and propagate his religion or belief in worship, teaching, practice, and observance.
Correct. So the lady might be relying on that one, on that section, and then say, it's my right. I have the right to practice my religion either in public or in private. And so what are we saying? This is public, and you want me to remove my hijab because of... Well, if you ask me that question, I will say the lady might be wrong. Because law, as a profession, which you know very well, because you are in it, is very conservative.
Yes.
And we have a manner of dressing in Britain and in Nigeria. In America, you dress the way I am now, you go to court.
Yes.
You can't go to court just like this because you are wearing a black suit and so on. You can't go to court here in Nigeria like that. You must be clad in your wig and gown.
And everybody knows that.
And everybody knows that. And you knew that before you decided to read law. You knew that.
Yes.
Now, and particularly on this call to bar date, call to bar day, you know, everybody must put on his or her wig or gown. You must do this to be properly clad.
Yes.
If you wear anything because you are a religion, you are a frock or a sultana or whatever, you know, or a hijab to the hall where you are going to be called to the bar, I won't accept that one. After this assignment, short assignment,
yes,
not lasting up to half a day, then you can do what you like. But this is a special profession, demanding that you must do certain things at the right time.
Yes.
Yes, you must put on to be called to the bar, everybody must put on his wig and gown.
And the bib.
And the bib. See, all of these must be properly, must be in place. And you are not ready to do that one in the name of religion.
Yes.
And I think that is fundamentalist.
It's fundamentalist.
Yes.
All right, just before you go, following the Attorney General Malami's advice to the President to discontinue cases against the former Petroleum Minister Diziani Alison Madueke and the former Attorney General Mohammed Adoke and others the Malibu Oil OPL 245 and the President's disregard of that advice.
Yes.
Is it time to separate the office of the Attorney General from that of the Minister for Justice?
Yes. I think people have been preaching up the need to separate these two offices. Because you see, we are not alone. We have copied our constitution from the United States.
Yes.
The US 1787 constitution, which is still there. I mean, and in the US, you have the office of the Attorney General, you know. But the only problem we have is Section 150 of this constitution.
Yes. And Section 150 says, there shall be an Attorney General of the Federation who shall be the chief law officer of the Federation and a minister of the government of the Federation.
Correct. So that's the problem. Not only as the chief law officer, but also as a minister. You have to separate the two, because the Attorney General must be an independent judicial officer, law officer.
When you say independent-minded.
Independent-minded and independent of the executive. Oh yes, independent of the executive. So he can sue anybody in the executive, never minding whose political party is involved. He can sue anybody, whether in the opposition or anybody in the country. But if you make him a minister, a member of the cabinet, you know, then it becomes difficult for him to act independently.
To eyeball the president.
Yes, to eyeball the president. For example, if you look at it, only yesterday they reported that the Attorney General of the US that scans at what the president was saying.
Yes.
You couldn't do that in Nigeria when you are his appointee. See? So, you see, you have to separate the two. You are the chief law officer of the land. You cannot at the same time be a minister, an appointee, under Section 147 of the Constitution.
So is that why we see sometimes it looks as if the Attorney General is working for the president as opposed to working for the people
Oh, yes.
of Nigeria.
For example, if you look at Section 174.
Okay, 174, public prosecutions.
Okay.
The Attorney General of the Federation shall have power
Yes.
to institute and undertake criminal proceedings against any person before any court of law in Nigeria
Yes.
other than a court martial in respect of any offense created by or under any act of the National Assembly. B, take over and continue any such criminal proceedings that may have been instituted by any other authority or person. And C, discontinue at any stage
Correct.
before
Yes.
judgment is delivered.
Correct. That is what we call nolle prosequi.
Yes.
Nolle prosequi, which was what Abubakar Malame did. Was trying to do the case of this Malabu oil.
Yes.
But then he had that constitutional right. But the president said, no, you don't have the constitutional right. You see, because he is his own appointee. If he were an independent AGF,
Yes.
then he won't do that. I mean, the president cannot come in. But you see, who pays the piper dictates the tune.
Yeah.
You know, the person is 100% answerable to the president, who appointed him. The president was his appointer. Yes. And therefore, he can say, do this, don't do this. And that's what's happening. Malami as AGF has that constitutional right
to discontinue at any stage.
But that's what we call nolle prosequi. Is replicated in the Criminal Procedure Act, section 43 of the Criminal Procedure Act.
And he doesn't have to offer any explanation for that.
No way. Whether it is good, whether for good or for bad, he has done it. He has thrown in the nolle prosequi, and that's it. Nobody can question it. It's removed. It's a constitutional right and a statutory right, because like I said, it's this section 174 and it's section 43 of the Criminal Procedure Act.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akiri, for coming back on the program with me today. It's always a delight to have you on the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm obliged.
And thank you for watching. I'm Angela Ajitumobi.